Hey everyone, welcome to another dose of convention tea. This afternoon, we'll be talking about Fanime 2023. On the show, it's myself, Dame Scarlett Aznable, and...
And me, Jared the Greek.
Alright, so, if this is your first time tuning into convention tea, let's just tell you all about Scarlet Rhapsody. I first started this operation in my dorm room in Northern California as a university student. I wanted to talk about my experiences at conventions. I wanted to blog about them. And it was like during the time when everyone was like creating a website, everyone had like their own like .com type of things. Like, okay, I'm going to start a website, scarletrhapsody.com, and I just want to use it to talk about conventions. And guess what? Since the early 2000s, I've been attending conventions from coast to coast, anime conventions, Comic Cons, and a lot more. And our team has fluctuated through the years. I met so many amazing people throughout my journey documenting conventions. In fact, I'm actually going to be putting out a book, hopefully soon, crossing my fingers that there are publishers interested. But this journey with Scarlet Rhapsody has taken me to so many places, but we're here today to spill some convention tea. And with that said, let's talk about Fanime. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. And if you're like, and yeah, just pour yourself a cup of tea and welcome. Hello again, Trisha. All right. So, Fanime 2023. So, a little bit about me. I've been attending Fanime since 2003 when it was just a small little event over at the Santa Clara Convention Center. In fact, when we were flying from LAX into San Jose Airport, we were actually flying over the Santa Clara Convention Center. It's like right next door to Six Flags Great America, and like we even saw like Six Flags Great America from our plane view. When was your first Fanime, Jay?
2008.
All right, and then so we've been kind of attending Fanime on and off. Like there was a period of time when we were in Boston. Fanime normally takes place Memorial Day weekend, and like, okay, sometimes we have events going on Memorial Day weekend, or sometimes like we can't really make it sometimes, or like when we were living, especially when living in Boston, doing that coast to coast flight on a major holiday, that can be very taxing on travel, energy, and also funds too. But you know what? It's nice to just kind of like get back to Fanime. This is like one of the first conventions I've attended, and this is like where all my university friends, where I can meet up with them and see them again. So yeah, we decided like, okay, Fanime 2023. We haven't been to Fanime since 2019. That was the last time we attended Fanime. And as we're going to go through our convention tea of Fanime 2023, we'll talk about the ups and downs of all that. But first, a word from our sponsors. If you like the artwork you see here of Jay and myself, definitely check out Mirror Soul. They create the artwork for our channel here, for our avatars here. I totally recommend them. Follow them on Twitter. Their information's here if you follow them at Mirror Soul over here. Love their artwork. Go ahead and check them out. Okay, let's talk about Fanime 2023. So, you and me, we usually fly from LAX up to Fanime. The flights are relatively inexpensive. Then again, I have like Southwest points. That's totally cool. We decided to just cosplay from a couple of different things at this convention. A lot of it was based on our schedule for Cosplay Wrestling Federation, which we will talk about in a few, and then also some cosplay meetups and just whatever we had in our closet. Here, Jay, I have a photo of you as Lloyd Forger, and you tell us about your choices for those cosplays.
The one, I just wanted stuff that was generally comfortable or easy to get into, that wasn't too many layers, although technically both of those are layer based, because Lloyd has the 3-piece suit and Yu has, just I have to put on the jacket and the robe shirt thing and all that. But I wanted to just kind of variety it up a bit, so I had some older stuff and some newer stuff. And honestly, I didn't pay attention to any of the cosplay gatherings beforehand, so everything I did was relatively scattershot.
Yeah, for me, the only cosplay I planned for a gathering out there was my cosplay Nero for the Fate Gathering. I haven't done a Fate Gathering in a while. I was like, you know what? I just completed Nero for Anime Boston, wore Nero for cosplay lip sync out in Boston. I didn't have a lot of time to really show off Nero, so I ended up wearing Idol Nero to the Fate Gathering. We'll talk more about gatherings in a few. I ended up wearing your to assist Jay here for Cosplay Wrestling Federation. And yeah, so these were just kind of like just our cosplays going into it. We stayed at the Westin, which was right across the street from the convention center. Didn't have to deal with any like long elevator waits. I like staying at the Westin. I like their lobby for photos. Like you can see here in my photo as Nero. I'm just hanging out at the Westin lobby. It has like this 1930s old Hollywood kind of feel to it. Not as ornate as, say, the Biltmore, but if you want to get some fancy photos, I really like the Westin lobby, and we generally had a positive experience staying at the Westin.
Yeah, I definitely would suggest it as a hotel option, especially if you want to be at a quieter hotel, because by the end of the night, you might just want to sleep.
Yeah, we're getting old. So let's talk about some of the popular fandoms found at Fanime 2023. Obviously, Genshin is not going to go away anytime soon, but I like to pick out something unique from the Genshin fandom. So you have here is Zhongling's bear friend that just pops out and spits fire, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this guy. Like, I was so happy to see like a furry mascot suit of this character here. It's like, oh my god, I want to give you a hug. And of course, it's no surprise that Trigun is making a comeback. So I saw not only old school Trigun, but also a lot of new school Trigun. And like, oh my god, like, what year is it again? But it just kind of makes me happy, like, seeing people, like, representing this series that this series has been a part of our adolescence. And like, oh hey, it's kind of cool to see this making comebacks, seeing like all the Wolfwoods bust out the Punisher cross in its various iterations. And back in Fanime 2004, I actually did cosplay as Wolfwood, and I had the chapel with me because, like, I want to be a little bit different here, so everyone's gonna have the cross. I'm gonna carry around the confessional chapel thing, and of course, it goes out saying that Spy X Family isn't gonna go away anytime soon either, and we were also part of that contribution to upping those Spy Family numbers of cosplayers at this convention. Of course, I always like to highlight some things that we refer to as flashback fandoms. We'll go more into the old school cosplay gathering later in these slides, but a few I wanted to highlight. Here we have Miku and the Leak. I saw Miku ball jointed doll in the dealer's hall. Like, oh yeah, I remember that Leak meme. I still like use that Leak meme all the time. I still work out to that Leak song all the time because like, oh, it's so catchy. I love the Leak song. Of course, with Yorosei Yatsura having its new series up on High Dive, like, it always made me happy. It made me happy seeing a Lum running around the convention. And of course, as I was doing some shopping over at the swap meet, Amuro Ray, and according to Jay, is the faciest face it ever faced. And another fandom I wanted to highlight, it deserved its own slide. And yes, I am aware that on day one we had the Oshinoko cosplay meetup. I saw a ton of eye cosplayers from Oshinoko. And I'm like, whoa, this series actually started like early April, and it's really crazy seeing like all these cosplayers pop up with high quality eye cosplays at Fanime. I mean, during Fanime, I wasn't watching the series, but you know what? I was curious. It was pitched to me like it's a different kind of idol series. It's about a mother and her children. Like, okay, I'll give it a shot. First episode, why are you 90 minutes? Oh, you're a prologue. Getting to the end of it. Oh, it goes there. Okay. I don't want to give out too much spoilers, but if you enjoy idol anime and you're looking for something that also has a serious edge to it, highly recommend Oshinoko. Check that out on High Dive. And for warning, it does get pretty heavy because it is a different kind of idol series. I mean, I can say the same thing about Perfect Blue, but highly recommend because this might be one of the best anime to come out this year. All right, let's talk about like one other business that we support, Penny D's Apothecary. Toiletries for all your convention needs. Shout out to our friend Penny who roomed with us at the Westin. Check out their website here. They sell a lot of soaps, a lot of bathroom accessories. One of my favorite things from them, it's something you spray in your toilet so when you have to do a number two, you don't stink up the bathroom. So highly recommend checking out Penny D's Apothecary over at pennydocs.bigcartel.com. All right, day one, our arrival. So you and I, we really don't do day zero because I feel with Fanime, a lot of the action happens after 12 p.m. on day one. So I feel like with day zero, just from our perspective, we're not really missing out on anything. We just hop in the airplane like at 9 a.m., arrive over at 10 a.m., relatively short flight. And it's relatively easy to hail an Uber or a Lyft to get to where you need to go. And it's nice that the airport is like less than 10 away from the main hotel area. So day one, like you and I were just kind of like just walking around. We weren't even costly. We were still like in our travel clothes.
Yeah, I had planned a day one cosplay and then ended up just, I think I put on a Gundam shirt and like my Love Live Hiyori and just kind of walked around like a freaking weeb.
Of course, like, well, yeah, this is a place to like run around like a weeb. And like, yeah, I like your Love Live Hiyori. It has like your best girl on it. And who's your best girl?
That'd be Ari Ayase.
So this is just pretty much like the entry center of FanimeCon. And as you can see here, we also have Buddy the dog, who's also helping out security, just sniff out some things that could be sus. Like Buddy, he's a popular character that kind of like just hangs out at the front of the convention center. So like, yeah, shout out to Buddy. Also, when we were just kind of walking around, lines are still relatively long, but it looks like the lines are moving if you're picking up badges early morning on day one. I know a lot of people go in day zero, the day before, to pick up their badge. But you and I, we were just kind of, we had lunch over at the Hilton. Amazing lunch, by the way. I love their, I had the pasta. It was really good. And you had the burger.
Yeah, I just needed to charge myself up.
Yeah, just after, like, just being up since 6 a.m. to catch our flight at LAX. It's like, okay, we just kind of need to recharge. We just kind of need something like heavy in our system to continue the rest of the day. So this is day one, I would say around 12 noon. Lines are still moving. People were able to still pick up badges, go through vaccination check. You and I, the first thing we did was we went over to the press lounge, and we were able to get our press badges in no time. We were able to show the app to show like, yeah, we're vaccinated, and we were good as gravy to go.
Yep.
Also, day one, it was just mainly just you and me just kind of wandering around the convention center before the storm and just kind of like just taking some photos of like just crazy things kind of going on as the convention was about to start up. So like, even though things didn't really begin until like 12 noon with opening ceremonies, and around 2 o'clock, that's when the dealer's hall opened up. You had like just people just kind of still just kind of roaming around, hanging out. They were probably outside, maybe like just taking cosplay photos or, just hanging out with friends. And here you have the gems from the currency of Genshin Impact just running around here. So I just thought this was pretty crazy, just kind of seeing like, oh hey, I love the gem currency from Genshin Impact cosplayers just kind of running around, because before Genshin, you also had like Saint Quartz cosplayers running around from Fate.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was amusing. I have a Saint Quartz pin somewhere, which I need to wear more often. And also on day one, prior to like things starting up, you also had like the start of cosplay gatherings. Out on the West Coast, it's a matter of semantics. We call cosplay gatherings. Out on the East Coast and elsewhere, it's referred to as cosplay photo shoots. So here we have the My Hero Academia cosplay gathering. We didn't really partake in it. Like, I just wanted to just pass by here, just let's see what's going on. So a lot of cosplay gatherings, are happening in this pit area, which is kind of like one floor down. Had like one floor down from like the main place of the convention center. So you kind of have to go down these stairs to go into this pit area. And one of my critiques with Fanime, with how they have the gatherings organized, is a lot of the gatherings are like, this is at G4, this is at B2, this is at A24. And I'm like, Guys, can we like have more descriptive locations because you're feeding me battleship coordinates essentially. And I need to like know like where specifically things are. I just kind of nicknamed this area the pits because this is where like a lot of the larger cosplay gatherings are taking place. So this is where the Chainsaw Man gathering took place, Spy Family took place, and later on I'll also show you photos from the old school cosplay gathering.
It does kind of dip down, so I guess it kind of makes sense as a name. Versus, like, say, that garage storage area for the other gatherings.
Oh yeah, the place is like that hangar bay
The hangar
area.
bay,
Well, we'll
yeah.
talk more about the hangar bay. And of course, this is like the entry to the dealer's hall. So one of the first things we did before we got settled in our hotel room, because check-in wasn't until like 3 o'clock. So we just kind of like, you know what, let's just kind of wander around the dealer's hall and just kind of take a look-see around. Jay, what were your first impressions of the dealer's hall?
It's fine. The Fanime dealer hall usually is pretty strong. Has a good lineup of stuff, generally a large area. I really wasn't going to look for anything, so just kind of looking to look. Sometimes it's nice to do that when you're not really focused on like, oh, I really want this or need this. It's just kind of a whole like, I'll just see what's there.
Yeah, I did some looking around. We ended up getting like Spy Family theme dice just for our collection. So you have a Lloyd set, I have a your set. I'm like, okay, yay, we have matching dice. Also, around this time, Stage Zero started to pick up too. So Stage Zero, Jay, explain what Stage Zero is to folks who might not be familiar with Fanime terminology.
In the main kind of concourse of the convention center, they set up a stage, and usually they have little small things happening there, whether it's someone just showing off some dance moves, or they have kind of a mini panel-like event with just one or two people talking about this or that. The fireside chats, of course, was a popular one for quite some time, which were kind of informal interviews with different convention people.
Yeah, we missed out on the fireside chats this year because the person who normally runs it was sick,
Yeah,
and he had to like pull it from the convention.
which is unfortunate. And then we'd use it for a few other little things. There were some CWF promotionals that were done there. And I really feel it's an interesting location. I've talked before with people saying I'd love to do a live D&D thing there of like a silly kind of D&D game, base something off of, the Flavor of the Week anime or something like that and have some like just over-the-top craziness happen at the table. Or do the 80s slasher thing I'm currently working on. That could be fun for next year. As long as everyone knows the rules of how to play.
Yeah, I also like the raccoon motif here with the Fanime mascots. I guess our mascot for this year was like a mailman raccoon because when I think of mail, like, yeah, I totally want to find a raccoon in my mail.
I'm under the belief that every Fanime theme, they just flip open a dictionary and then they point to a random word. And like, that's what it is. This year, our theme is the.
I was just kind of like mixed about like, okay, so your theme this year is the Postal Service. Okay, that is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, Anime Boston's like, yeah, we're retiring themes. I don't mind a convention having a theme, but definitely do something with your theme. Don't just have it in your visuals, but do something with it and really lean into it. All right, let's also talk about the old school cosplay gathering. And you and we cosplay from old school stuff, right?
Yep. I did technically bring something from the 90s, but I didn't wear it that day.
Yeah, I really didn't feel like cosplaying on day one, so I just decided to I'll just wear like a vintage dress and I'll just just chill at the gathering and I'll just take photos. Technically, I do have a Sailor Moss cosplay. I was wearing a Sailor Mars outfit earlier, but I wanted to change out of it because the skirt was way too short for my own comfort. But I always end up checking out the old school cosplay gathering. So the old school cosplay gathering, it's like any anime property before the year 2000. And Jay, what were some highlights? What some fandoms did you notice that were here?
We saw some Cardcaptor Sakura in there. We saw a couple of things that like where I recognized the characters but couldn't place it. Now it was driving me up the wall. There's some Ramna people there. Kind of annoyed. We saw. I think there were a couple of Gundam people there, which was nice. but I was expecting more Wing people because they're really easy costumes, and Wing is part of a lot of people's adolescence.
I do appreciate the presence of a Char Aznavour cosplayer here, and I love how Shinji is just kind of just lying like, I'm too depressed to get up, and Char is like, hey.
Yeah, we had some Ava people too, which is that used to be like a default. Like those Ava gatherings back in the day were always massive.
Yeah, you and I used to go to Ava gatherings a lot because you and I would just roll up as Kaji Masato. And like here we got some Ranma, we got Griffith from Berserk, and we have something from Bible Black. It was funny because they're talking about like, if you are a magical girl, come on right up.
That was my favorite moment.
I mean, she is magical. She is a
She
girl.
wrote the spell book and everything. It's great. And you might as well have a little tongue-in-cheek fun if you're going to go to one of these gatherings. So I have no problems with that. But yeah, I brought Reno from Final Fantasy VII, so I technically could have brought him here. I think they allow video game stuff, so it would have been fine. They came out in the 90s. And I do have a couple other characters that are 90s, or just on that cusp of 2000, where I think I could still get away with it. But unfortunately, one, I didn't know when the gathering was, and two, like I said, I just kind of haphazardly chose costumes before the con started, so it's not like I could have planned and said, oh, this would be an easy one to wear. And it was more of that point of me sitting there watching it, going like, oh man, I brought this. I could be wearing that right now and hanging out with these people. Instead, I'm just sitting here on the sidelines like a weirdo, staring at people in costume.
Yeah, you were like messaging me and like, okay, here's some ideas we can do for next year.
Oh yeah.
And
That's what happens when I get bored.
And like, you know what? Traditionally, it's always day one around 5 to 6 o'clock when they'll do the old school meetup. So at least now we know for future reference that the old school meetup is day one, Friday, usually in the early evening hours. So like, okay, I'll just keep that in mind if I want to just wear Salem Moss or, well, I am working on some old school projects right now. Won't tell you on the stream, but I am working on some old school projects right now. Maybe I'll bust that up for next year's old school meetup.
They should do these at more cons.
I agree.
Someone get on that. Someone who isn't me, get on that. I'll run a giant robot gathering or the Super Robot Wars gathering, but I will not do an old school one. I'm not going to deal with that. That's too much work. I'll wrangle the 7 or 8 people who cosplay from like giant robot shows at a con. I can wrangle that. That's easy.
All right. So we also decided to do some more wandering around on day one. We decided to just kind of like just wander around the dealer's hall. Well, we ran around the dealer's hall, but here we got the game room, the gaming hall, which was also like one of the events that was like open till the late night hours. We had friends who were also running the gaming hall too, so we also wanted to say hi to them. Jay, what are your general thoughts on the gaming hall?
I liked the kind of tournament zones of the giant screen. Most of the time they had a announcer person with them, which was great. A lot of different things going all the way back to some old school stuff like 80s 90s systems, all the way to, of course, your modern kind of stuff, and a decentish area to play tabletop, but a little too noisy in my opinion. That's always the problem, is that they always put the tabletop stuff right by the video game stuff. And the arcade section was there too, I believe.
Yeah, this photo here is of the arcade section.
Yeah.
We have folks playing Dance Dance Revolution as
So
photoed here.
you have a lot of residual noise, so to do like a proper... I understand you can play Go Fish, I get that, but like you can't really play like Call of Cthulhu with that much background noise. Also, it ruins the atmosphere. Or if I ever want to set up a game of Dread, I figure all the background noise make it really, really hard to play not Jenga. But still, well done. A lot of stuff. They really used the space well. It never felt like I was crowded in anywhere. And it was always busy. Every time I went there, almost every single TV screen was taken by a person. So, yeah, they did a good job with it. Just would like to see a dedicated tabletop room at some point.
Yep. And then here you can also see the screens here for the console setup. And then you decided to just kind of chill at your hotel. We were also waiting for our hotel mate to show up too.
I wasn't feeling very good, so I needed to rest.
Yeah, we ended up just having like a small dinner at the hotel. We brought some salads from Trader Joe's, and even then, like, you know what? Let's just kind of like, while we're waiting for our friend, let's just watch a live action Voltus 5. Jay, as Soda runs Make My Mecha, what are your initial thoughts on Voltus 5 Legacy?
It's kind of terrible, and not like in the fun way I was hoping. I was hoping for like, dudes in cardboard boxes versus dudes in rubber monster suits punching each other, and we get like them like, okay, let's make the giant robot now. Let's have an extended flashback about our dad. And I'm like,
And bougie aliens in this Game of Thrones kind of political intrigue.
I want to point out that in the original series, that occurs over one episode, about 2/3 through the show, when they find like, oh, by the way, here's the truth about who your father actually is. And they're like, let's stretch this out. And I know we've seen some behind the scenes stuff, so I know a lot of these bougie aliens are just cameos of other famous like
Filipino soap opera folks.
People. So I'm like, this only exists to just let these people have
it's
roles.
For GMA to just wank and just kind of promote their talent.
Because this isn't even like a problem of the week type mech series. It is monster of the week full on. It's like the guys are just doing something at the base, and then, oh no, monster is attacking insert location. Get to the Voltus vehicles. And then they fly over there, they shoot their guns in that form, they transform into the big robot with, and fight the big monster, and then go home and go, whoa, that was a crazy day we all had. Possibly some of us learned a lesson about something that occurred earlier in the episode. So, as opposed to, say, like a Magical Girl one where you're going to have that person of the week they have to help, there's usually not a person of the week they have to help. So to get extra actors into this, you literally have to just extend flashbacks and stuff like that, and it's just... I want to see someone in a cardboard box robot suit beat up someone in a giant rubber monster suit, and I don't feel like that's too much to ask. Japan has done that for like 3 decades or 4 decades now of Super Sentai. It's not that hard. Just cardboard boxes punching rubber people. Please. That's all I want.
And while you were resting up and waiting for our friend, I decided to check out the swap meet. So the swap meet occurs on day 0 and on day 1. So it occurs for 2 nights. And this is my only chance to check out the swap meet. Because, I just wander around. There might not be anything I'm interested. And then I passed by this one gal who had a Bob Mackie limited edition Barbie that I've been eyeing since I was 10 years old. And now that I have income to actually afford said Bob Mackie Barbie.
Wow, a Bob Mackie.
Right? And everyone has been posting their Barbie memes and Barbie personas online. And then I'm
the movie's about to come out.
Yeah, in light of that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm this type of Barbie, I'm that type of Barbie, and then I'm like, girl, I'm a Bob Mackie collector's edition. Anywho, so I ended up picking up that, and I'm like, okay, this is a sacred piece of my collection, so this is definitely going to be carry-on stuff. Like, hey, I finally own a Bob Mackie Barbie. I'm finally achieved that moment in my Barbie collection, because I used to be a Barbie collector way before I got into anime conventions, and 10-year-old me is very proud of me to get my unicorn of Barbie collecting. And also I checked out with this one person who had Twisted Wonderland merch, and the Twisted Wonderland merch they had were bags and just a bunch of accessories for each of the houses. So I ended up getting a Octaville tote bag. Oh yeah, I can use this anytime I'm at Disneyland, Disney World. It can be my theme park tote bag. And then they also had this designer label purse. There was a collaboration. I forgot who the designer was with Twisted Wonderland, because Disney, they like to do their crossovers and with various luxury brands like Pandora. And I ended up getting the Octaville designer handbag. It's okay, I need this because I can take this with me wherever I go. It also has the Octaville logo on it. So okay, yeah, I'm feeling Gucci here. Feeling real Gucci. But yeah, the swap meet was took place. This is referred to as South Hall. But I just kind of nicknamed it as the San Jose hangar because it looks like an airplane hangar. We'll talk more about this location on day 2. I thought it was a pretty decent location. It was very open. There's a lot of space to just look at stuff and things of what people were selling. There was a lot of light in the evening in this area, so it was very easy to just walk around and navigate. And I just did appreciate oh hey, I wasn't expecting this here. So if you're at Fanime, I recommend giving the swap meet a chance. But if you plan to sell at the Fanime swap meet, it's always recommended to get a spot early on because a lot of spots are first come first serve. I know folks who are waiting as early as 6 o'clock in the evening, so they can just be like right in the front of the entryway, so they can get more foot traffic coming in. So that's also something to keep in mind. They announced the swap meet, I want to say, like less than a month prior to the convention because a lot of people are like, when's the swap meet gonna open? When's the swap meet gonna open? But yeah, highly recommend checking out the swap meet because you never know what you are gonna find.
It's usually pretty good lineup of stuff too, depending what you're looking for.
Sure, and like I said, I didn't expect to find a Bob Mackey, but guess what? I now own a Bob Mackey.
Hmm.
All right. So, before we go into day 2, let's talk about how you can get 10% off your order at multitasky.com. I use Multitasky all the time for office supplies, and with Multitasky, like you can see here, I used my light ring to take some photos of myself here at the Biltmore Hotel. We'll be staying at Biltmore Hotel at Anime Expo, and guess what? I really want to get more cosplay photos of myself at the Biltmore Hotel without asking photographers to like take that shuttle and get their butts up to the Biltmore Hotel. So, highly recommend if you want to just to get started with self-shooting. I really like their light ring set. It's relatively inexpensive. It's pretty affordable. And you can use our code Cadillac Cats for 10% off your order at multitasky.com. All right, let's get into day 2. So just a few cosplay highlights here. One thing I really liked about Fanime is like seeing like a lot of old school cosplay. I know like when the cosplay featured here is technically from a newer series, but I like the Ranma with the Ryoga plush here, and I also like, oh hey, Dirty Pair. I haven't seen Dirty Pair cosplayers pop up in a while.
Yeah.
I still need to watch Dirty Pair. It's people are surprised like you haven't seen Dirty Pair, but this is like your thing. Like you gotta understand when Dirty Pair came out, I was like, ooh, I like the magical girl stuff. Ooh, so definitely have to check out Dirty Pair eventually. I also like that there was a Komi Can't Communicate cosplayer, and they were actually acting just like the character. So they basically just had like this notebook, as you can see here. My dream is to have 100 friends. Will you be one of them? And they had their notebook, and people were just signing off their names. And you and I signed off our names to be two of Komi's friends.
Mm-hmm.
I still need to see that anime. I told it's actually really good, and I've been also told like yeah, also don't sleep on the manga too because the manga is also pretty good too. Day 2, you definitely saw like a larger crowd compared to Friday.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people were coming in Saturday, probably doing like the 1 day type thing because the Fanime badge prices are like closer to like 90, 100 in that range if you're planning to do a 4-day pass for next year. So bear that in mind. So a lot of people sometimes like, yeah, if they have like a passing interest in anime or they're just kind of curious about Fanime, they'll do Saturday as like their day to check out the con. So you had a lot of people really lining up for day 1.
Yeah.
Day 2. My apologies.
Yeah.
Like we were going to the Fate Gathering at about 1 o'clock or so, and we saw that line go all the way up to South Hall, all the way up to that hangar. Also, day 2, you had Stage 0 in full swing. Stage 0, a lot of times, anytime we pass by Stage 0, they had like a lot of K-pop dance covers go up on stage, or they were playing a random K-pop video, and they're like, hey, if you know to dance, come up on stage and show off. Also, day 2, I decided to be brave and venture the Artist Alley. Jay, tell us what were your first impressions of the Artist Alley?
I absolutely hate the Artist Alley. It is scrunched all together. It is always crowded. It gives me a headache just being in there, and after about a minute or two, I literally turned around and just walked out the door, sat down near the door, and just gamed on my phone until she was done.
I really think they should use a large hotel ballroom for the Artist Alley because I just thought this was just way too crowded. I was able to pick up a few prints that I really liked. There was a seller that was selling like these beautiful prints of the Sailor Moon princesses, and like I needed the Mars one in my life because it also has Phobos and Deimos on it. And I was like, okay, I'll just kind of take a glance, see what's here. You had like a lot of VTuber merch. You had a lot of Genshin merch. You also had people starting to really sell out of their Oshinoko and Honkai Rail merch that they just started putting up. And you also had like a lot of people also selling out of their Twisted Wonderland merch as well. Very popular, of course, were prints, acrylic chains, and you mostly had that kind of those sales at the Artist Alley. I also heard that people were stacking their booth with more than two artists present, because a lot of times it's can be a crapshoot, can be a lottery to get into Artist Alley, and you kind of have to use your portfolio as like your audition to get a spot at Artist Alley. So there are people who are also sharing booth space to also sell their merch too, because Artist Alley here, like I said, like as big as a con as Fanime is, the Artist Alley can get pretty cramped, and this is a pretty accurate depiction of just how shoulder to shoulder it can be and in Fanime's Artist Alley. So I really would like to see Artist Alley like in a larger kind of space, because I remember when Artist Alley like had like almost like a convention center hall type of setup where like you can actually breathe and you can just like, kind of move through like all the booths and stuff.
Yeah, I used to go there and find unique stuff, but after a certain point, especially when it moved to that new room, I was done. No more.
Yeah, and this is also just kind of like a very rare example. Like, okay, the Artist Alley kind of looks kind of light here, but don't let this photo fool you. But this is kind of like just this is like one of the rare occasions. Like, oh, there's just kind of light foot traffic here. Also, another highlight that we liked at Fanime, this is not made by the con, but it's just someone who was like just holding around like a bunch of signs, had like this sign gallery here. So I'm just gonna read a couple of these off. Let's see, got con feet, hide the pain. So they're like using like meme imagery, meme culture to like just make all these signs. And he had like this complete gallery like just lined up like by alongside one of the halls. He wasn't selling any of these. He was just like just showing these off, but I thought these were pretty relatable. Also, Fanmei, part of the con culture is something called the Danger Dog. Jay, tell us what this Danger Dog is.
Oh, that's a nickname for the street dogs, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, they're a lot like certain other urban area conventions. You will get the people coming up their carts yelling the word hot dog over and over again. And the smell. And the smell, some people really, really like it. I think it's terrible, and I have to like cover my nose while trying to make my way back to my hotel. It is not fun. They also, strangely, this is the place where I saw other types of things where it wasn't just hot dogs. Like, I think someone had tacos and another person had fruit. It was like, wait, what? So I'll give points to the street vendors in
Hey,
San
variety
Jose.
of product.
A variety of product, and I do appreciate that. Versus if you're at the LA Convention Center, it's just a hot dog person, 2 feet later, hot dog person, 2 feet later, hot dog person.
Yeah, hence like when you see the sign here that says when you eat a bacon wrapped hot dog at the con, yeah, you're kind of risking your life. But hey, it's cheap. That's why we bring our own salads and burritos to the convention.
Yep.
Also, Jay, tell us about the charity.
So they have a little charity auction thing there, and they had some cool stuff that I did not at all put a bid for, though I wanted to. I just didn't. I know I'm the worst. I probably wouldn't have won anyways. But then a few things that caught my eye. One was they had one of a whole load of like Fallout stuff, which would have been really cool to have a bunch of those different things. And the other one was like a set of Gundam Seed stuff. It was mostly soundtracks, but they did have one of the little Valentine's type card thingies from the Gundam Cafe. And I believe it was Shin looking very, very like boys love. And I was like, oh, okay. These are things. But, and that one's price never really went that high. I should have done that just to have all those soundtracks, to be honest. But then a few other ones are really good. It was all going to, I believe, Make-A-Wish?
Yes, Make-A-Wish.
Yeah. So hopefully that money went to a bunch of little kids who need to meet John Cena and or other celebrities.
Yeah, I also like they had like a mini putt-putt golfing section there too, because I'm like, hey Jay, you should like just bust out and like do some putt-putt golfing here for charity.
Yeah.
Because you used to play golf.
I did. Like a decade and a half ago.
Yeah, here you can also see like the Fallout merch here, because you were thinking about like picking up the Fallout merch and putting a bid on it.
Yeah, because I want some of that stuff. My brother would probably want some of that stuff, so we could probably divide the booty.
Booty. Also, yeah, kind of like just wandering around the dealer's hall too. One of my favorite places, anime books. Usually they bust out more anime merchandise, obviously, at the anime conventions, because I always see them at our local, like anytime there's a Comic-Con or a pop culture type event. And I've been like eyeing a lot. I'm a huge fan of the Q Posket figurines. More than Funko Pops, more than Nendroids. I'm a huge fan of Q's Pocket. and I ended up getting the Princess Mars figure. I was either between that or the Pluto figure. I'm eventually going to have to get the Princess Pluto figure because I cosplay as Princess Pluto, but I always like to at least get one Q's Pocket at a convention. So they had the Princess Mars figurine. Needed that Princess Mars because Princess Mars was like one of my first cosplays. And fun fact, I also cosplayed as Princess Mars at my homecoming dance. Because like, oh hey, I'm going to homecoming at the last minute. I'm too lazy to go out and get a new dress. F it, I'm wearing Princess Mars to homecoming. It was funny too because my friend ended up being crowned homecoming queen, and she's like, "Hey girl, do you want to wear the crown?" Like, sure. So I got to cosplay as Mars while wearing the homecoming crown. Also, just other Fanime vibes here too. What I liked about the front of the convention center, like you always had like people dancing. They do into like dance ciphers, dance circles.
There's always a little circle or something going.
Yeah, and that's also one of the unique things about Fanime. So here, like, I just decided to just kind of like just check out this group that was doing all these K-pop moves. Like, okay, this is kind of neat. So you always have like some dancing going on at the front of the convention center. Like, who needs a rave when you got this whole dance circle thing going on?
I was going through the night, by the way, not one of those like, oh, they just did it at noon. No. We were leaving and they were still dancing there. So, or some other group had taken over. Whatever happens with the circles, I don't quite know how that works. But there's always some dancing going on. There's always liveliness right outside the convention center. It's kind of nice to see, to be honest.
All right, day 2. Let's talk about that Fate Gathering.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for day 2, were you causing a Gilgamesh?
Not yet.
Okay, because you were causing...
Had we gone to the hotel first and then gone to this, I could have changed, because I needed to change for CWF.
Gotcha. So, I decided to just check out the Fate Gathering. I was cosplaying as Idol Nero, and...
My original plan for that day, however, was to go as Sieg from Apocrypha, but I chose against it last second to wear something else. And then it was like, oh, I think I can make that cosplay gathering as Gil, so it'll be no big deal. And then you get lost at a con, and then you're like, oh, crud, we're running out of time. Let's just run to the gathering, do the gathering real quick, change, and go to CWF.
Yeah, so the gathering took place over at South Hall, a.k.a. the San Jose Hangar, and it has a different feel to it during the daytime. With the explanation of South Hall, they had like just different sections, section off for like different like gatherings to take place. I actually had to like message my friend Robbie, and Rico to like find out, okay, where is the Fate Gathering happening, because it's giving me battleship coordinates, and I'm not familiar with the Fanime battleship coordinates. Like, okay, it's in South Hall. Like, okay. So there was a stage for us to kind of like just pose and get photos, and I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest, of the South Hall setup. Again,
there's a lot of problems.
I would prefer if they got like, I don't know, the Marriott. I mean, the ballroom dance only takes place like for like one night. It doesn't need to be there like the whole time. To like maybe have like a much more like cozier and better lighting.
Yes, the location you're at was backlit, so everyone just looks like a shadow half the time.
As seen here in this photo.
Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that there's no entrance from the convention center into the South Hall area, so you're going all the way around the hotel to get to this back area, to get into this zone, which feels like a loading dock, because it's probably a loading dock. And if there was an easier way to get into that location, if I could just take an escalator or an elevator over to it, that'd be fine. Having to take a long-ass walk to then have a position that does not allow you to get really good photos does not really work well. While like that pit zone right outside the convention center was perfectly fine. It gets a decent amount of lighting. Some of the indoor places on the first floor of the convention center seemed fine, although the lighting isn't great there either, but you can make it work. This is like the worst lighting mixed with a pain to get to, making it super not worth it, in my opinion. My mind's from like... For the swap meet, it's perfectly fine because, it's kind of later hours and what have you, and it's a large zone, so everyone who wants to have a spot can have a spot. But when it comes to, like, gatherings, this is just so out of the way and just not worth it.
Yeah, I think, like, this might be more appropriate for, like, say, autographs or something. But, again, like, just the way how things have been, like, set up and arranged at Fanime this year, it was pretty funky. And this is me also just trying to like at least get like a better, like just adjust my camera so I can get a better shot of the cosplayers so they're not backlit as seen here. But even then, you get like a lot of washout and exposure from the back too. All right, let's talk about Fanimania, night 1.
So this was the night where they were going to do the lead-in for the Blackout Belt. And I believe that was also the time to do the scramble, and I think it concluded with the tag? Or was tag night 2?
I believe tag was also this night too.
Yeah. So this is all kind of the smaller events that lead into night 2, which is the big show. Not that big show, but a big show. And so this was pretty fun. Great to do the scramble again, having done that at Anime Las Vegas, where it was a lot of fun and just kind of us messing around to some extent.
But wait, who were you at Fanimania night 1?
So at Fanime Night 1, I brought back Gilgamesh for the first time since ALA whatever, when I nearly passed out because of wig problems.
Yeah, we decided to yeet that old wig
Yes,
to the netherworld.
Yes, it is literally on the trash can right now. The other thing I have is I have Civilian Gil, like when he's not in combat mode, his hair, and there is technically a craft essence that is the basis. For those who don't know, craft essences in Fate Grand Order are basically these equipable cards that give them boosted stats. There is a craft essence that has Gil and Ozymandias, and I thought one other king, and they're just dressed in like this, all black with the gold jacket, with like holding up like playing cards and poker chips and stuff. It's their poker night outfit. I think the card might literally be called Poker Night, which is the basis for this outfit, and he does wear a civilian hair for that one. He also looks very Bishi for some reason, because I guess that's how the artist drew him. And I'm like, oh, it's the girliest he's ever looked. But it was fun bringing him back, especially because my opponent was Gudetama. So it just goes to that point of just, you bring back this guy who's expecting to have a grand battle, and then he's just going up against an egg. And the whole thing just turned into a rant about how dare you. And victory through Gudetama falling asleep, and Gil claiming victory via the power of his oration, which has defeated the enemy. Which, your oration makes someone fall asleep. You're probably not the best orator, but it worked for that. And then, of course, you got to defeat me by cutesiness, because that would be funny.
Simp.
I got some champs. It was great.
And then I got defeated by Arthur, by being enticed with burgers, fries, and the BK Kids meal, because who can't say no to the BK Kids meal? And then he gave me the Burger King crown, and then I got the chant of "Have it your way."
Yep.
It was fun being Saber Lily on stage, because the way I portray Saber Lily, it's very like, okay, she's very cutesy. I kind of want to play her off as like a stereotypical Disney princess, because maybe I want to build this character eventually, because wrestling is also about story. Wrestling has plot eventually.
I like the fact that we had 3 Fate characters in a row. That was, that'll probably never happen again.
Who knows?
But it was a lot of fun.
Because now we have 3 King Arthurs, because Robbie has them.
Has Arthur, King of the Britons, from Monty Python. Yep. Which will be great. We need to have all 3 Arthurs just start arguing with each other moment. I think that would be wonderful.
We need to do that in Vegas, and we can call it the real Tournament of Kings.
Yeah.
And then we just roll up an Excalibur and cosplay.
All I know is that I eventually wanted to have a 24/7 moment, whether scramble or just a regular skit, of Gilgamesh coming up to Robbie's Arthur, King of the Britons, and do a whole, yelling at him about how he's not a waifu and how dare he take the name of King Arthur and not be a waifu, and then take the 24/7 belt and just end it with yelling, "And you come back when you're a waifu!" Because I just thought that would be hilarious to do at some point. And then I could lose the belt to whoever, it doesn't actually matter. But I've come up with so many, 24/7 Gil things, because he works so well for, short bursts. I'm going to bring him back for main show as well. I just want to get a nice little crown for him at some point. So it's the missing last part I want in there, because it really helps build the egomaniac king thing if you actually wear a crown on your head. So that's the next goal. But for 24/7, he'll probably show up quite a bit, because it's just an easy way to get fun Gil bursts and remind people that this character exists in the CWF universe. I do lament not bringing Reno back for CWF, but
Next time.
I did bring the
Next
costume,
time.
but I wanted to change it up. I don't want to do the same thing for 24/7 all the time. So if I can swap between Reno, Gilgamesh, and Walt Disney, I will do so. So whatever the opportunities show up, I will try to do it as a different character each time, and then rotate back to the earlier one, so the audience doesn't get bored of seeing the same one or character over and over again. And I know there's other people who do that too, where that's their excuse to bring back some old characters just to do a 24/7 skit real quick, and I love that. It's fun.
Yeah, and we also had reality, and over here,
Oh, Reality's Return was wonderful.
I love reality. In reality, we just learn he's essentially just Frosty the Snowman. The power's all in that top hat.
Yep, it's an evil hat that transforms people into a jerk. And he was defeated by the logic of that convention's, defy reality, which I thought was really, really clever.
Yeah, this was a really good way to just end the story for reality, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so after that, you decided to take a rest at the hotel. I decided to do my thing of Conderlust.
Yeah, well, CWF takes a lot out of you.
Yes, it does, because you're dedicating, hours of time to this comedy show, and then, after that, it's just meet and greet with, fans, and then, just have a little bit of dinner, and, okay, I just want to, just rest of the night.
And I point out that...
But also, you have another show the next day, too.
Yes, and none of the wrestlers just oh, my part is done, bye. They're sitting, they're there cheering on everyone else. So we're all cheering for each other just as much as the audience is, plus having to perform and be there earlier to make sure everything goes off without a hitch. And even though we had some audio issues, everything kind of went off pretty well. The audio issues played very well for Gilgamesh because it was just making him more angry. So, good times.
Yeah, I decided to just kind of wander around the rest of the evening. So in the past, Fanime had a pretty pop-in nightlife in the concourse of the San Jose Convention Center. Sadly, that nightlife is gone.
Oh.
However, there were a few things kind of going on throughout the night in the convention center. So you had the game room that was still operating, but I don't really know any friends who want to hang out in the gaming room. I didn't really see any of my friends who were staffing there. Okay, maybe we can do just chit chat, catch up. Maybe it's a slow night. And then I ended up just hanging out at Stage 0. Stage 0 here, it's kind of weird to just kind of I don't know if y'all can see this, but they had a karaoke contest. Not a karaoke contest of who's the best karaoke singer, but rather a karaoke game show. Mm-hmm. And this karaoke game show, it's very similar to what I saw at Anime Expo. So one of my favorite things about Anime Expo nightlife is they have the karaoke game show where you have to sing, but at the same time you're given a task to do while you're singing. So this task that these two people were given was called "I'll Make a Mandalorian Out of You." So they had to karaoke to "I'll Make a Man Out of You" from Mulan, wearing a Mandalorian helmet, meaning you can't see the words, you have to know it from memory, and you have to hold a Baby Yoda thing as you're singing while dodging projectiles that you don't know where it's coming from. So whoever did the best by applause would just win that round. So sadly, Anime Expo, they got rid of that they're actually getting rid of this for next year because the group is no longer doing it next year. But I was just really glad to see the karaoke game show, because this is always fun, always a fun late night thing to do. Mm-hmm. I went to the karaoke room at Fanime because they actually do have a legit karaoke room, and I don't know, it just really wasn't feeling it. I mean, there were people in there, but usually anytime I go to a convention center karaoke room, there's usually a party going on and everyone's singing along, everyone's cheering each other on, people are dancing in the audience, but I'm this just kind of feels, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. So I ended up just kind of just going back to the hotel, called it a night, and then that brings us to day 3. But before we go on to day 3, a word from our sponsors. Let's talk about candles.
So the Magic Candle Company provides candles of all your favorite theme park scents, from iced cream to popped corn to even ride scents like pirate water. And, of course, one of my personal favorites, extraterrestrial forest. But maybe you're not a candle person. Maybe you just want a nice little room spray. They have those. Hey, maybe you have a car and you want your car not to smell like fast food or farts. Well, they have little car thingies too, so your car can smell like your favorite ride. That way, going to Work is more like going on Flight of Passage, except there's traffic. Check out all the different options at Magic Kennel Company and check out our discount code EAT15 for a nice little discount off of your next purchase.
You were sounding like Bacon Jake Bradley there for a second.
I know. I almost went into Bacon Jake Bradley voice. I've been practicing Bacon Jake Bradley and Duncan Fisher a little too much, and I don't know if they'll ever get the chance to do anything for CWF.
All right, day 3. So I started out with day 3 by going to the cosplay repair room. Now, you're not allowed to have photos in the cosplay repair room.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. And I had to spend like an hour trying to figure out my Beidou like hairpiece.
Considering I had to go there a couple times to fix things too, I'd prefer.
So what
not
did you
to photos.
fix?
Well, as it turns out, my glasses, the little nose pads, both of them fell off. One fell off actually much earlier. It fell off, I think, at the airport, and the other one fell off somehow at some point during the con when I was actually at the hotel. My glasses fell off a table onto carpet, and the pad bumped off, and we could not find it. So we ended up gluing just foam to my nose pads, and you can't even tell because it's like just thin foam, but it allows me to keep using these old glasses that probably should be replaced. And I think I also had to do some wig repair stuff for Lloyd Forger as well.
Yeah, because they had wig spray, they got the wig combs, and they even have a wig doctor who you can just approach hey, can you just fix up my wig? Can you stab my wig?
Which I should have done for Reno.
We'll keep that in mind next time. Anywho, so I went into the cosplay repair room and I had to just figure out how the heck do I put this hairpiece for Beidou together because it just kept falling apart no matter how many times I hot glued it. Turns out not the glue I should be using. So we ended up using spray epoxy to get all that together. And thankfully it's all together and it's all together, which makes me very happy. And yeah, that was just my major thing. I just kind of to figure out, I want to get this hairpiece for Beidou fixed out because I'm just tired of using the wrong kind of glue. So shout out to Costco Repair Station for helping me figure that out. Also, day 3. Also, I didn't mention this, but Fanime also had a wacky waving inflatable dude at the front of the convention, and I don't know, I just posted here because it amused me. And he's JoJo posing.
Yeah.
Also, just some highlights of some cosplays and things we saw on day 3. The voting guys showed up, and this time around, it's Ninja Turtles versus Power Rangers. So we have Power Rangers in the lead at 367, and we have the Turtles over at 345. So what would you pick?
Ninja Turtles.
Over Power Rangers?
Yeah.
What's your reason?
I owned a bunch of Ninja Turtle toys as a kid. I've owned 0 Power Rangers toys as a kid.
All right. So, and also in center here
if you're going to compare first theatrical films, sorry, Ivan Ooze, but the original Ninja Turtles theatrical is amazing.
All right. So here we have, center here, we have an RX-78, and we also have my friend Diana cosplaying as Sailor Moss.
With the Haros.
Yeah, and the Haros with the flippy ears.
Yep.
We have that.
We do.
We have candy in there.
Yes.
So we have a Haro-filled candy. I appreciate that they got the carrying on around the Haro. I have a Haro plush that I got years ago. And I should just carry that plush with me anytime I cosplay as Sayla. Because the reason why I got that Haro plush was there was a Sunrise artwork of one of the Love Live girls holding a Haro. I'm I need to cosplay this version because it would make me happy. No one would get it. I don't expect Love Live fans to get it.
But Haro is part of the Sunrise logo.
This is true.
So even Love Live fans might know what Haro is without knowing where Haro is from.
It's a bouncy thing that shows up on the Sunrise dealie.
Yes.
And I always appreciate seeing, I'm not familiar with a lot of Chinese manga, a lot of Chinese dramatic storytelling here, but I always appreciate seeing, Hanfu at conventions, just seeing how beautifully ornate they are. And because of seeing, all these Chinese drama cosplays, Chinese manga cosplays, I've been super inspired to create one of these, and I will have that done for Anime Expo. So thank you all for being super inspirational and sharing your methods and techniques and how you made all these, because now I want to make one and I want to join the fray. Also, day 3, again, this is the pit here. So you can see how, crowded that the pit here can be. Mm-hmm. This is, it looks like it's the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure gathering. And, of course, every convention is going to have, have a ton of JoJo cosplayers. And this is day 3, Sunday, so yeah, quite a bit here. And I was also on the way to, we'll talk about that in a few, Maid Cafe. Let's talk about the Maid Cafe because I know you've been a fan of the Maid Cafe since
2008.
Yeah. All right, 2008. So what was the Maid Cafe like in 2008?
2008, it was, I think it was more or less in the same area. You usually got a little snack thing. Just the guy would sit at the table, he'd play some games. It wasn't too different than what we had now. It just felt more... It was a more innocent time, I think, is probably the way to put it, where we could be a little more silly. Versus, being nervous about, weird convention creepers or anything like that. So, just a slightly different experience then. And I would argue they did a good job now. It feels a little less cafe to me now.
Yeah, I like the games I like the group games that we played at the beginning. We did like a Simon Says type of game. And I decided to participate in that. Like, okay, let me do that. But I kind of miss like just having like the food because they used to have this at the Fairmont. Because like you said,
the Fairmont was great.
Like you said, this started like in the same area in 2008, and then they moved to the Fairmont. And I love the Fairmont location, and I love that we were given food and drink. But I guess because of convention rules and so forth, like they had to like just really just scale back.
Yeah.
On like what they could offer. I mean, we played games, which is cool. The maids we had were really nice.
They're very nice, yeah.
And we were able to get some standby time as well because like I was going on the website, I was going on their social, like how the heck do I make a reservation? And there was not a lot of information online that was clear and present on how to make a reservation. So like, okay, let's just do standby. We got time to kill before Cosplay Wrestling Federation, and we were able to get a seat no problem. And we got our photo taken at the end because one of the policies of the maid cafes, you don't take photos or selfies while you're at the table.
Yeah.
So you got your souvenir photo at the end. They got your phone. Your whole table decided to take a picture all together with your maids. And I thought that was pretty cute. Mm-hmm. Overall, it was a good experience given that like they probably had to scale back a few things.
Yeah.
But I just kind of feel but I really miss the Fairmont location. But
yes.
I really feel that it's not it's not a Fanime experience for us if we don't visit the Maid Cafe.
Yeah, I think every time I've gone to Fanime, I've hit the cafe at least once, and it just depends on the years. There's been ups and downs, and I think all the gals did a great job this year. I think it's more the point of there's probably new restrictions or what have you, so they had more limitations. Also having the timer bell thing there was like, oh, okay.
Get out.
Get out.
Oh, that was rude. Please get out.
Yeah. But they also had like hand sanitizer and stuff like that available, which was nice of them for those who need that. And yeah, it's generally good. I do miss having the food things. I think the Fairmont version may have been the best because they had that nice stage area for the girls to do their shows and play games. But they also had, food and drink and stuff like that because it was all done through the Fairmont's restaurant or whatever. So that was probably the best version they've had is the Fairmont version. But even the old version where they had that little snack stand there was the one that would provide stuff. So you get stuff at the snack stand and then you get seated with your maid. And I think back in the day you used to be able to get they had smaller tables. It was only for 4, maybe 5 seats. So it would usually end up being like you, your friend, maybe 2 other people and the maid, or sometimes just if you come in with a group of 2 or 3, sometimes just the 2 or 3 of you plus the maid. And it just, things felt like smaller and more like one-on-one than they really felt now. Not that the people at our table weren't cool people. They were cool and their maids were great. It's just the times are now different. And I think there's a lot more rules nowadays. That is my feeling.
Yeah, it really seems like it too because of also, it feels, we'll get to this later on about constructive criticism about Fanime. It feels like overall Fanime has really scaled down and it's really scaled back.
Yes.
And the Maid Cafe, I'm glad that we have the Maid Cafe, but it seems like they also scaled back on a lot of what the Maid Cafe used to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, still a good experience nonetheless, I can't complain, but there was a lot of scaling back here. Also, I decided to check out, this was in the Hyatt. They had a fashion zone where if you're into Lolita, if you're into J fashion and anything under the J fashion umbrella, they had a separate dealer's hall for J fashion. So I decided to just check that out. I decided to just go ahead and check that out and just start like taking a look at like, hey, they got some rings, they got some hats. They had one of my favorite brands, Hinuli, and they had like a Winnie the Pooh dress, and it's the Winnie the Pooh artwork from the original books. And I'm like,
Oh, naked Winnie the Pooh.
yes, it's naked Winnie the Pooh as opposed to pantsless Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
So they have that artwork on there. I'm like, oh, I would love to like have like a yellow one piece or like a yellow JSK that I can wear to like Disney, the matching beret, or even like the head bow. But a good problem to have, those dresses were sold out. I'm actually happy that they were able to like just sell these dresses because this is, I know like a lot of people have been eyeing the dresses, and I really want to see this brand thrive, and I really support them. So I know they usually show up at Anime Expo, and I'll make the sacrifice to hit it day one. I'm not the biggest fan of Kensha Hall, aka Hell.
AKA Let's All Suffocate.
Yeah, like Suffocation Alley. I mean, I will go in, go out. I already know it's my size, and like just get the heck out because I have no intention of visiting Kensha Hall this year at AX. I'm sorry, artists. I love you. I love each and all of you, but for my health, I can't do it.
For their health, they shouldn't even be in there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, why? It just has not been addressed by AX or even the LA Convention Center, but that's more of an AX discussion than it is a Fanime discussion. But anyway, Dealers Hall. I mean, Fashion Dealers Hall. This is also where you have like the J Fashion show. You have also J Fashion panels like in the zone. So I really do appreciate that Fanime had like a dedicated zone for like J Fashion. And this is also Hey Newly's booth here too. And you can like, kind of just see like just people just checking it out. They had like different like colorways of the Winnie the Pooh dress. So you see here it's in pink, it's in light blue, but like I need to have like the Winnie the Pooh yellow. I'm sorry, I need to have it in the yellow, and I need to find like a Disney bounding company that sells like the honey pot like bag, so I can like I just need like just make the pitch perfect Winnie the Pooh bound.
Mm-hmm.
Also, let's talk about Fanimania Night 2.
So this is basically the only thing I was saving my energy for the entire day because I knew how crazy this was going to go. Of course, I was worried we were going to be a little late because, as I mentioned earlier, I had to do some work on the Lloyd Forger wig. And I believe that's also when we had to do the glasses. We had to do like both at once. It was just, it was like one of those.
It was the glasses, and I had to fix up yours head dealy,
so
her headdress.
Yeah, we had to fix the headdress, the wig, and my glasses all at the same time. And I was really worried we were going to be late to the meetup, not to the main show, but we want to still be there at the meetup, get all the logistics down, and we made it plenty of time. I was actually kind of surprised. Kudos again to the cosplay repair because they really get your stuff quick, and you can just kind of do your thing and head out. So after getting there and getting things set up, this was the big show where they were going to have the blackout belt battle between Gaston and Jigglypuff. It was also, of course, the main competition. We'll see if anyone could take down the reigning champion, Spicy Burrito. Which I'm surprised Spicy Burrito did not retain his status this year.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, I have photos here of Spicy Burrito, and with a twist, Coach Connors.
Yep. Spoilers for a show that already happened. So, yeah, in the main show, we'll just talk about us real quick, and then we'll get on to everything else. We went up as Lloyd and your Forger to the crowd's thunderous applause.
You had a daddy chant.
Which is great. Which is good because it tied into my thing I kind of set up because I was doing a whole, I'm doing this for Anya. And I had the Anya ears on.
From Universal Japan.
Which I claimed Anya had made for me because it just feels more in-universe that way.
And it also sets you apart from other Lloyd cosplayers, too.
Yes. It's now becoming, like, just a standard part of my Lloyd costume.
Yeah, you don't need that Panama hat. Like, just put on the Universal ears.
Universal ears. So, the audience is going great. What I did this year is I thought it'd be funny to do a running joke where Lloyd constantly gets interruptions that prevent him from moving forward in the competition. So, for Fanimania, my idea was I'll get a phone call from Anya. And we had the pitch-perfect Anya. The problem is, the audience was so loud you could barely hear the Anya call. So a chunk of the Anya dialogue just got drowned out by the audience. I think one of my favorite lines from the audience was "Hang up," and I was like, "I can't. It's my daughter." So I very much played up the dad angle, and I think it went off pretty well. Everyone liked it. Had I actually done my original planned thing, I think we would have easily moved into second round. But I've like you can't predict, how an audience is going to be, and I thought this would be kind of a funny, memorable thing because, maybe Spike's family's losing a little bit of its love at this point. So, I don't know how the audience is going to be. No, everyone loved Lloyd. Everyone loved the silly ears, and the repair work made everything look nice. So it was good. Had a little moment where I actually changed some stuff up because of the ears. I didn't know if we were actually bringing those, so I think that was kind of a change up. And then
Oh, I always bring those ears.
yeah, so it's kind of fun, like having this thing I'd practiced and then kind of having alternate version and then playing off the audience was just great. And then just everything kind of went haywire and it just that's the magic of Fanimania is that you never quite know what the audience is going to say or do, and you got to kind of be ready on your heels. And even the phone call came at a point that I think came a little earlier because the audience chant was so much that it's like, oh, we got to do it now. But yeah, it all worked out great. To the main show, the trash man ended up just getting the audience losing their mind, which is bizarre. And trash man, of course, did some stuff. Oh God, just thinking about the bologna and the cheese and ugh. Oh.
I am the cheese. I am the best character.
I don't know how people can do that. That's outside my realm of skills. But the audience went crazy. And then, of course, the big heel turn after the victory to reveal that Coach Connors was the trash man the entire time. And the audience had some of the best reactions to that. It made it an amazing show. And even though I've just described it, if you haven't seen it yet, go to their Twitch channel, go rewatch it. It is an amazing show. Everyone did a great job. The Gaston versus I keep wanting to say Kirby. Kirby was in the show, but Kirby was not the champion. Gaston versus Jigglypuff was actually a pretty fun little match there. I'm kind of surprised how much the audience liked Gaston. Just because, usually think of him as like a total jerk. It's kind of what his character is. And then, the audience went for it. And yeah, it was overall a really, really good show. We had a curtain to walk through, which was awesome. So it made you feel more like a wrestler. Yeah. This show was hyped. And if you haven't been to Fanimania, even if you're not I don't really like pro wrestling, don't worry about it. What you're going to get out of this is kind of screaming and yelling at some of your favorite and least favorite anime and popular media characters as they crap talk each other to try to win a belt. And that's, part of the fun. And if any CWF show will usually be pretty good because the staff really, really know what they're doing. And even though we're part of it, I'm not biased here. I was a part of the audience for a long time before I was actually a competitor. So, I wouldn't have joined this group if I thought that they weren't that good. Because I have better things to do with my time, and I would much rather do CWF than Masquerade or do it more than...
It was competing with Masquerade, and I had to drop out of Masquerade so I can do Cosplay Wrestling Federation.
That's how good it is.
Oh, hang on.
You skip one?
Yeah, we skipped a few.
Oops.
Yeah, just a few shots here. You always have a crowded room over at Cosplay Wrestling Federation here. Oh, yeah, more of our competitors here. We got Sonic. We got Harley and the Joker. We also have Jigglypuff over here, too.
Yep.
Yeah. Cosplay Wrestling Federation always draws in an audience. There's always people lining up 2 hours, 3 hours before so they can get a good seat because it is hype. This is a really hyped up event. So if you're at a convention where Cosplay Wrestling Federation has something going on, highly recommend checking it out. And of course, there is our champion, Coach Connors, who will be competing at Anime Expo for AX Annihilation.
Yep.
It's Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules.
My apologies. Extreme Rules.
Yes. So if you want to make sure he loses that belt, you better cheer on your favorite person at Anime Expo. Maybe that could be me. You don't know what I'm showing up as, but I assure you, it's going to make the crowd reaction for sure.
Hi ho, hi ho. So, I decided to do some Condor lusting again. Our plan was like, okay, let's just get nightcaps with friends. Like, we went to Original Joe's for dinner. I love Original Joe's. It's one of my favorite places
Yeah,
to have
we were
food.
both like in comfort food mode because we were so exhausted.
Like, okay, let's go to Original Joe's. And luckily, they were able to give us a table at the booth or the bar.
Yeah, the bar.
Yeah, they gave us a table at the bar, and we can actually see like everyone just cooking stuff, which was actually a really cool experience.
And I want to point out that I was making comment recently saying, oh man, every time I go to one of these like greasy spoon kind of places, I always have the bar there. I've never eaten at the bar. I always get a regular booth. One of these days I want to eat at the bar. And then cut to Fanime and I get to do it. I'm like, yes! Check off the list. I've eaten at the bar at a greasy spoon type place. Mm-hmm. And I just ordered something simple. My stomach was still kind of like crazy after all the adrenaline and all that. So I just had a club sandwich. And it was so large, I had spare for dinner for my flight home.
Nice. All right, so after we decided to check out Original Joe's, ended up passing by ParkCon. So ParkCon,
Oh, we haven't mentioned this.
yeah, ParkCon. I didn't check out on night 2, a Saturday night, because like okay, I don't really want to feel like I don't feel like stepping out further than I have to. So for night 3, we were meeting up with friends over at the Hilton for some nightcaps.
Fairmont.
Yes, you are correct. Signia, which used to be the Fairmont.
Oh, right. It has a
Yeah,
new
it's
name.
called the Signia, which is owned by, technically, it is a Hilton hotel. It's kind of like the Westin, which is technically a Marriott hotel.
Yep.
So day 3, there's this thing called ParkCon. This is like something independent from Fanime. So think of it as almost like a Fanime offsite. And with this offsite meetup, they would like just meet up at the park that's kind of like right outside the Children's Discovery Museum, something like that. And then they would just kind of like, okay, let's just play music, kind of like just hang out here, take photos, have like our own mini like after party here. It's free. However, because this is independent from Fanime, people just need to clean up after themselves. I'm sorry, please clean up after
Oh,
yourselves.
they leave a bunch of trash things.
Yeah, they really trash it. And like guys, like technically while this isn't a Fanime event, we are here because of Fanime.
It represents Fanime.
Yeah, it represents us. So like maybe pick up after yourselves. I mean, there wasn't like any like authority type figures telling like, oh, clear out, like you can't be here or anything. I mean, people are having a good time, you know. I mean, it's not really my scene. It's not really my thing to go to. Like I said, I'd rather have a nightcap at the bar with friends.
I could see me in my early 20s because of the friends I had going like, come on, dude, we gotta go. And I'm like, fine. And then I would go with them and I'd be like yeah, I'm dancing. It's loud and I'm surrounded by people. I'm miserable. Why am I here?
And I'm like, oh, I'll just go grab a nightcap. I'm like, okay, yeah, if this is your thing, you do you. But if you do ParkCon, just clean up after yourself. Again, not really my scene, but just something I just wanted to just point out. Like, hey, people can create their own after parties. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the San Jose Convention Center.
And it didn't take a long bus ride or anything. It's
Oh yeah,
a 2-block walk to the
let's talk about that. So the DoubleTree, which is like far away from the convention, that required a shuttle to get to, had had convention programming. So that's where all your video rooms were, and you also had your 18 plus stuff going on. They had like an 18 plus night market, and I'm like,
I would have gone just to see that.
I would have
That's
been
gotta be
curious too.
Crazy.
I would have been curious too, but like I don't want to take like a shuttle bus.
No, I don't deal with that.
A shuttle bus of perverts. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to pervert bus to get to pervert island.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like because it's so spread out, like guys, like I feel like you can definitely use the space within the hotels, within the convention center.
Go put.
Can we put stuff back at the Signia?
Yeah, we have options. We have hotels that are like 2-3 blocks away that don't require a shuttle.
Yeah, so this is just kind of us just taking our elevator selfie on day 3. Just kind of like,
had a stupid idea.
yeah, it's like,
Go put the adult stuff at the Children's Discovery Museum.
oh no, no.
Oh, that could lead to some fun chaos.
Oh no, don't give them ideas. Or have like the adult night market at the ParkCon.
ParkCon.
Because like I feel like night markets are a thing you do outside.
Yeah. Okay, let's get through the nights.
Yeah, so Yeah, night 3 just ended up just getting nightcaps over at the Signia. I really like the Signia bar because they even had like Fanime like themed drinks. So I had the Phantom Maid, which is like this lavender kind of concoction, and you had the Demon Slayer,
Yep.
and you had like the water version,
Yeah, because I was
not a watered down version, but
because I think I was still, I think I was out of cosplay completely at that point, right?
you just de-wigged.
Yeah, I just de-wigged.
So you're just a fancy guy in a
I'm
suit.
still wearing most of Lloyd, but since I had gone as Giyu earlier, I was like, well, then I'm gonna drink the Giyu drink, because Giyu, and he's water, so there. So I got the water flavor, which was great. So much so I was at that point where I'm like, I kind of want another one of these, or try one of the other elements maybe. But yeah, and the bartender person was the person who created them. So they actually did the mixing to come up with these conceptual drinks for Fanimania people, and I do appreciate that because that's like, hey, I want to add that extra friendliness to the people at the con, and you don't see that too often. How many conventions we go to where even if they have a bar as part of the convention, they don't have convention specific drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And look, bartender people, if you know basic mixing, chemistry, then I would highly recommend coming up with one or two things. They don't need to be anything spectacular. You could literally have a like Spy X Family drink that's like vodka plus something else, and you could have like a modified vodka martini is like your Spy X Family drink, and you could have like something made with like sake and whatever as your Demon Slayer drink, and you could have, I don't know, something like a Red Bull plus something for the My Hero Academia drink, because it's got to get you all hyped up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something like that, just three simple things, and they will sell like hotcakes, because there's people like me who go, oh, I'm cosplaying from Demon Slayer, I'll totally try the Demon Slayer drink. Or, hey, I'm dressed as Lloyd right now, yeah, serve that up. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
All right, before we go into day 4, let's talk about California Cosplay Gala.
I know them, they're famous.
Yeah, tell us more about California Cosplay Gala.
They're a group of people who go to different conventions and sometimes have outside convention events where they throw fancy cosplay balls. Which means, did you miss your prom or your homecoming dance and you didn't get to go to your homecoming dressed like Princess Mars? Well, now you can. You can go there dressed as your favorite anime character, ideally in something a bit more formal looking, and have a nice dance. They have good instructor people that will help you out if you need to be helped out. They have lessons at most cons they attend because, if you need to learn how to foxtrot or waltz or what have you, they will give you the tips. Their MC is probably one of the best people behind a mic, and you really should give him tips or flirt with him if you're a pretty lady. And their costume judge is one of the best costume judges around. And yeah, they do a little costume contest most of the time. So you can win fun prizes and stuff.
All right.
I don't know when their next event is, because it's not listed there.
Okay. This slide feeling is like, all right. Okay, day 4.
That's weird.
Yeah, I just need okay, right here. Yeah. Okay. All right, it's queued perfectly. We just have having technical difficulties getting this off the ground. All right, so this is our hotel, the Westin. We usually stay at the Westin. This is our first, well, technically this is our first year at the Westin, and I think moving forward, I think we're going to keep staying at the Westin. Again, really quiet hotel. There's a no party policy, and I also like getting photo shoots here done like in the late night hours when no one's here. So like, okay, I'll just get like my camera, my tripod, and we'll just set the timer on, and I can get some photo shoots here. So we really like staying at the Westin. Mm-hmm. Really, we had a really good experience. I've been telling them like, yeah, 5 stars in Yelp. So day 4, some other cosplay highlights here, like, yeah, the Oshinoko hype train ain't gonna stop anytime soon. And speaking of idols, I was very happy to see a Mima cosplayer from Perfect Blue.
Yay.
So, like, yay, Perfect Blue. And then also on the last day, there was a person wearing a Pikachu onesie, carrying Zenitsu's sword and wearing Zenitsu's Howry jacket. And I felt like, oh my god, that's so clever. I love it.
Yeah.
And for lunch, we decided to check out these Japanese hot dogs, which was really good. I forgot what the name of the place was. Like, oh my god, like I just need like this comfort food to just keep me going for the rest of the day. So I just kind of wandered around the gaming hall for a bit. I like the fact that there was like a Nico. We were looking for our friends who usually staff this section of the gaming hall, but we couldn't find them. But there was a giant Nico plush right in front of the computer.
As happens.
It's like, guys, like, where are you? You do know that the person who's running your console gaming is a giant Nico plush. Alright, so day 4, decided to also just check out the cosplayers who are just kind of still running around. I was very happy to see a Bakano group here. I was like, oh my god, that's a group I haven't seen in ages. And I used to run like a lot of the Bakano cosplay meetup. So like it was pretty neat seeing like Bakano cosplayers here. Then you also had like just some of the Demon Slayer cosplayers here. I love that this group has like our trio when they were in drag during the Entertainment District arc. So this area here is known as Photographer Alley. This is an official sanctioned area where photographers can take pictures of cosplayers. I have mixed feelings about Photographer Alley, to be honest. I mean, I did bust out my tripod out there. It's not my favorite place for photos because there's really nothing exciting about a gray wall, but that's just me personally. Whereas I like taking, I like working with the backgrounds, with my character. But I just kind of thought like some of the photographers at Photographer Alley were like, rude. So I was like taking a photo of myself like as Beidou earlier during the convention, and I had my self-shoot, so I had my self-timer on, and I was like, okay, I'll just take some photos here, no problem. Photographer approaches me, and he's like, oh, do you want me to take photos of you on your phone? Like, no, you're a photographer. Take photos on your fucking camera. Pardon my language. But I just kind of like, hey, if we're ever going to like build a true cosplay community that is like, free to elitism, classism, and whatnot, why don't we like, support one another? Because I kind of feel like photographers are like mainly focused on like popular cosplayers, or like this cosplayer isn't like wearing next to nothing, let me video tape them, let me take photos of them. Whereas like, hi, if you're in Photographer Alley, maybe you should support like cosplayers, because I just felt really turned off, because like I have my self-shooting stuff with me for a reason. I can control that, I can handle that, but I think it would be better of like a big time cosplay photographer to like, help someone who doesn't really have a lot of attention or is not getting a lot of attention, get them some nice photos. Because like, yeah, even though I can just take simple stuff with my self-shooting set, as photographers, especially with y'all with all your fancy professional equipment and whatnot, just help some newbies out. I mean, you don't always have to take pictures of the same cosplayers that have, I don't know, like 10,000, 20,000 views, I'm just saying.
Yeah, remember when cosplay wasn't about how many likes and views you got?
Yeah, it was just about, like, I don't know, like, how much fun you had. It's another rant for another day. Mm-hmm. But speaking of fun, someone decided to play Wobble. And that's, or as Jay knows as, the Back It Up song. So we have a Vash cosplayer here, like, dancing to the Wobble song here. And I just love seeing this cosplayer just, like, this randomly dance. We also had, like, the Cupid Shuffle playing, too. So, like, I was, like, focusing on good vibes. So I just always appreciate, like, anytime, like, I see, like, oh, hey, there's, like, a line dance going on. And anytime I hear Wobble, it's like, yeah, that's pretty neat. And you also can see, like, on day 4, like, people were just packing up and people were just kind of, like, just moving out of Artist Alley, moving out of the dealer's hall because, like, yeah, the weekend was wrapping up. So this is, like, just the game room also wrapping up here, too, under the watchful eye of Nico Yazawa. And you and me, we just kind of like felt like, okay, we're just kind of tired. Let's just hang out here right in front of the dealer's room at this table. Let's just kind of like just kind of wait it out before we have to like just check out our flight. And then people thought we were info booth.
Yep.
Like, and we have to warn people like we are the unofficial info booth, but we'll help you. We'll help y'all out.
As best we can.
Do you want to hear some free convention stories? Because we got free convention stories. I mean, we didn't even have like staff badges or anything. We had like our press badge and stuff, but like we'll be nice. We'll tell you where the bathrooms are. And I think we told people the wrong information for closing ceremonies.
We may have.
Because in retrospect, closing ceremonies was actually happening as we were sitting behind the booth.
Oops.
It was in panel room 1, I believe.
Oops.
Not stage 0.
Again, oops. But when people had lost and found issues, I told them to take them to stage 0 because they would know where to put lost and found stuff.
Yeah, because stage 0 is right over like, hi, we're not staff, but we can try to help out.
Yep.
And this is us just kind of like just hanging out like on the last day of the convention. Me just kind of like just sitting there. It's like, yeah, I'm tired. I want to just drink this Pepsi and just kind of kill time before we have to catch our flight. There's a photo of us because you're cosplaying as house husbands. I always take photos of you hanging out in the dealer's hall on the last day.
Yep.
And then also stage 0, they're playing a lot of their K-pop songs, and people were joining in and jumping in on stage if they knew the dances. And then also here you had in the center here, because they're playing Dynamite by BTS. Like, I'm gonna play the Beavis and Butthead version of this, and you and I were just quoting it like as they were playing like Dynamite on stage.
Yep.
And that pretty much just brings us at the end of day 4. You and I, and eventually just kind of like, we'll just hang out at stage 0, and we'll just kind of like just hang out and just kind of tell convention stories to like the last people here. Like, guys, you should have given us like a stage 0 panel. Like, we'll talk more about panels like in our feedback, but I kind of felt like it was a missed opportunity for us to like do a stage 0 show talking about convention stories of days of yore. All right. Our last sponsor is YEMAC Sweaters. Convention Tea is brought to you by YEMAC Sweaters. Use YEMAC-Dame Asbel to get 40% off your next order at www.yemacsweater.com. I like using YEMAC Sweaters. I love their cardigans. They come in a different variety of colors. I've also bought a lot of the blank cardigans so I can embroider or like put a or like sew a patch onto them just so I can make my own custom thing. I'm actually working on a Nozomi cosplay where she's hanging out at a cat cafe. She is a Scottish fold cat girl, believe it or not. You're laughing. I'm like, no, it's cute. Like, I want Scottish fold ears and be a Scottish fold cat girl. And I'm getting one of the sweaters from this website for that cosplay. So if you're looking for like inexpensive cardigans, sweaters, long line jackets, highly recommend www.yemacsweater.com, and definitely that 40% off can help you also save on your next order at yemacsweater.com. All right, we want to give some special thanks to Fanime for always asking us to do panels again. And what panels did we do this year?
We did the Final Fantasy Mythology, the new version, A Summoner's Guide to Summons. And I believe we also did our Heroes panel for the first time, which is about how anime characters fill the human need for heroism in our lives.
Yeah, I really like doing panels at Fanime. You always have a very engaged audience. At Fanime, we always had a pretty good crowd at Fanime, regardless of what time we presented. And I believe our Heroes panel, that was the first panel of the day on...
Day 4.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like a mostly filled room. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, because I was surprised. So, like, well, are people checking out? Are people hungover? But, like, no, we had a pretty good audience for that. I'm like, yeah, awesome. And we also had an early audience for a Mythology of Final Fantasy, Summoner's Guide to Summons. Like, okay, people are probably might be stuck in line. I don't know. But we had a really good turnout for that, too. So, yeah, thank you again, Fanime, for having us do panels. If you want us to do more or be panelist guests of honor, we're also more than happy to provide that experience to Fanime attendees as well. All right, let's talk some constructive criticism about Fanime. This year really felt scaled back.
Yes.
In terms of programming, I always felt that there were more panel rooms than just, say, 3. And on day 4, you only had, like, less than 5 panels going on. There was not a lot of programming going on day 4 because there was just a lull during day 4. Like, I just want to sit somewhere, maybe, like, watch, like, AMVs, maybe go watch a parody type thing. But all those programming was over at the DoubleTree, and like I don't really want to go to Pervert Bus, go to the DoubleTree. So I just really feel that like since Fanime kind of felt scaled back, kind of like integrate DoubleTree programming like within walking distance of the convention. And also as panelists, I felt like we also got more in terms of being panelists, because usually the panel room, the panelist lounge, had like water for panelists. They also had like some snacks for panelists. I think one year we also had pizza.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. I really appreciate the pizza.
I don't even think it was actually for us. I think it was for the staff, but they let us have some of the pizza.
Like, hey, we have some leftover pizza. Like, yeah, we're okay with that.
So, evidently, they bought a bunch of pizzas for panelists. It happened to be that they had leftovers, and we got to eat them.
But, the panel staff, they were really nice. Like, yeah, like, usually we get water. It's okay that both of us get water for our purgatory panels. Like, they were pretty cool about that. But I really wish they also gave us water for Cosplay Wrestling Federation.
Yes.
Because after being on stage and just giving that much energy to an audience, like, we need water. And there wasn't, like, any water refill station, like, in the panel rooms either.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, yeah, no water refills. And, like, I kind of, like, as performers, we also need water, too. So I kind of felt, like, sort of bummed in that respect. Yeah. But as far as panel programming is concerned, I just didn't really feel there was, like, a lot of panels that I was really into. Maybe it's just a matter of preference. Because, like, yeah, you and I, while we were really busy with our other stuff going on, I was, like, just checking out to see, like, what other main programming events were going on, too.
Mm-hmm.
They also scaled back in terms of the AMV show, and the AMV contest was actually deleted this year.
Oh, wow.
They didn't even
realize that.
Yeah, they got rid of the AMV contest this year. So a lot of things were so scaled back. We mentioned with the Maid Cafe, like a lot of that felt scaled back. I still enjoy doing that. But I really feel like if you're going to scale back with events, also feel like you also have to have some balance there. Like, I kind of felt like the ballroom dance did not need, like, 2 extra days of owning that space because the ballroom dance is on night 3. And I was just mainly just doing, like, some ballroom dance stuff. And I kind of felt you could use that space for, like, other programming. I'm adding more panels for variety's sake. And I do appreciate the existence of, like, the Lolita zone, the J Fashion zone. Like, I wish I had more time to check that out. But I do appreciate that. But Fanime just felt really scaled back to previous years. Any other thoughts, Jay?
It's interesting because the energy of the attendees feels like about what it normally is. There just was kind of a little bit less to do. What there was a little bit scaled back. But, everyone still really enjoyed Stage 0. Obviously, CWF went really well, and we had a pretty good audiences for both our panels. So you can tell that there's a lot of enthusiasm from the attendees. It would just be nice if the convention could kind of reflect enthusiasm on the side of the staff.
All right. So, some final thoughts on Fanime, Jay?
I think it's an okay con. I've always kind of felt it was an okay con. I know NoCal people love it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I get why NoCal people love it. It's their home con. I mean, it's pretty much the hangout con up in the Bay Area. It's also been one of the longest running fan-operated conventions. However, I also feel like I'm in the mindset, like, the older I get, the more I feel like I don't need a major convention to hang out with friends, because guess what? A lot of my friends were actually working the convention. So I really didn't have time to, like, yeah, let's go to Johnny Rockets, sit down and, like, just catch up.
I was glad this was one of the first years I didn't go to Johnny Rockets once. That kind of put me in a good mood.
Yeah, because now that we're in an income where we can, like, Original Joe's, Il Forneo.
Less what I was saying. It's more the point of Johnny Rockets is always a pain because it's a small restaurant. It's hard to get in and out of there, and there's always a line, and I don't want to deal with any of that hassle.
Valid.
That was totally my point. Now, the food's fine at Johnny Rockets. You get decent milkshakes there, so I'm not gonna complain about that. But it's just more the point of I have other options, and I'd rather go to the other options. The place I miss was it was the place that it was like 2-3 blocks away from the convention center. Also a good place for milkshakes.
Oh, Peggy Sue's? That's now defunct.
I know it is. That place I miss. I miss that.
I also like that breakfast place we went to.
Yeah.
It was like back in 2019, but I forgot the name of it. I just know it was, like, closer to Fairmont. And I also like the bakery that's, like, right across from the Signia, formerly the Fairmont.
Yes. So there are some good little places there that I'd rather go to than Johnny Rockets. I think the reason I hit Johnny Rockets almost all the time is because I stayed at the Fairmont so often. So it's right across the street. So it becomes very convenient. But, yeah. There's some decent food options still out there. And I'll take Fanime over an anime expo, but I guess that's kind of not the biggest compliment in the world. I think most people would take most cons over anime expo, but yeah, I mean,
skipping a Fanime doesn't feel like you're missing out on that much, because we will be going to Anime Boston in the year that's going to be on Memorial Day weekend. And last year we picked Anime Boston for our Memorial Day weekend con because at the time there was a lot, we felt there was a lot more that Anime Boston had to offer. Like even when you think about Anime Boston, like now it's kind of like also scaling back too. And I feel like scaling back is going to be a trend going forward with like a lot of conventions, especially coming out of lockdown, especially just kind of like adjusting to the new normal. I really feel that the conventions as we know it are going to be getting scaled back, and there's going to be a lot of changes that we're probably going to have to get used to. So
I wonder what Expo is going to be like.
yeah, I also wonder what Expo is going to be like too. It's just going to be wait and see. And with that said, wondering what Anime Expo is going to be like, that's our next event that we're covering. I noticed on a lot of their social media, they're promoting a lot of panels and a lot of premieres. So I'm actually looking forward to the Sunshine in the Mirror panel and premiere. Looking forward to the Fate Strange Fake panel and premiere. That was an anime I thought that would not get. That was a visual novel that I thought
It's a novel.
Yeah, a novel that would not get an adaptation, let alone an anime adaptation. And now we're getting that. And that's really surprises me. So I'm like, okay, there are things I'm looking forward to at AX. But AX is probably going to have the same old problems it usually does. And had it not been for like things like Sunshine in the Mirror, because at least it is gonna have like some of the Love Live cast present again. They won't be performing, but it's just nice to see them again. So nice to be part of that premiere. And also, there's always a lot of fun Fate stuff to do at the convention that you can only do at Anime Expo.
Yeah.
Like, I really like their Fate setup, the Kigurumi characters. But you know what? We'll get more into that when we get to Anime Expo. So, any last words about Fanime 2023? Any special thank yous or any special shout outs?
I think we've covered it throughout the whole discussion here. I don't know who else we got to mention. Unless I am horribly forgetting someone, then I just seem like a jerk.
Yeah, thanks again to Cosplay Wrestling Federation for having us be a part of your show. Thank you to all our friends that we met up with and made some FaceTime with us. And Fanime, just overall, I think it's all right. Fanime as a con, it's all right. I mean, it's no big deal if I miss out one year. I don't really consider it as a hangout con anymore, because when all my friends are staffing, it's just kind of hard to just kind of like just meet up, play catch up, when I could probably do that at a smaller convention, or I could just simply visit the Bay Area and just kind of like, hey, let's chit chat a bit and just have some drinks and stuff. Whereas I feel our role at Fanime is like, yeah, we're contributing for programming, and I have no problem contributing programming. I have no problem being a part of Cosplay Wrestling Federation. No problem running panels. I love doing that kind of stuff, and I always like being a part of that. I just kind of wished I was able to check out Masquerade. I heard Masquerade was a pretty good show. A lot of old school anime representation, and to quote my friend Diana, a lot of it are like the elder millennials who realize they have all these skills to create their dream costumes when they were in their adolescence. And I feel like I'm at that stage right now, because I am creating some cosplays that came from my adolescence now that I built up like a larger skill set of costuming and cosplay. All right, Jay, some final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if I go back to Fanime, that'd be cool. And if I don't, yeah, it's sadly not missing much. It'd be nice to see Fanime bounce back. I remember it being a lot more lively and a lot more...
Yes, the vibe felt
too much
pretty
to
off.
do back, not even all that many years ago. And I would like to get it back to that stage again so I could be enthused to go. I do love doing panels there. CWF is a lot of fun. And I'd like to actually even contribute to Stage 0 if possible. So there are things I would like to do there. It's just really a matter of feeling the need to fly up to San Jose.
All right. And with that said, thank you again for tuning in to another edition of Convention Tea. We're going to be at Anime Expo next month, and Anime Expo is less than a month away, believe it or not. I got some costumes finished. I got a panel to just kind of put together. We got some stuff planned for Anime Expo that's going to be a lot of fun. And as much as we dread Anime Expo, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, actually. because of just so many things that are just going on and so many things that we're a part of. And with that said, thank you so much again for tuning in to another edition of Convention Tea, Fanime 2023 edition. And with that said, we'll see you at the con. And remember to follow us on our socials. Check out our website, scarlet-rhapsody.com. And also check out our Ko-Fi if you like our show. If you want to donate to our parking, our hotel fund for Anime Expo. Check out our Ko-Fi here at ko-fi.com, Scarlet Rhapsody. Thank you again. And that's the end of the show. Good night, everyone.